Right now, so please give a warm welcome to Nicolas Garnier.
Hello. Okay. Ça marche. All right. Let me. Do we see it? No. All right. Hello, everyone. So my name is Nicholas, and I'm going to present you mobile development. It's actually going to be more like an introduction. General things about mobile development. I'm going to show you some metrics about, usage of different types of mobile in the world and in MENA in particular. And then I'll show you some cool HTML5 mobile features. And the last part will be like Android development. And so we'll code a small app. We'll start with the hello world and then try to use some of the nice features. So if you've never developed mobile, it's going to be really interesting, I hope. So let's start. So first, no, not yet. Don't raise your hand yet. So yeah. So who has already developed for mobile? Please raise your hand. All right, a fair amount. That's nice. So yeah, first let's start. Why should you develop for mobile? That's the best question, right? The most important question is why. So we've seen that internet is growing everywhere in the world, right? So now everybody knows this. The mobile internet is growing much faster. We've seen like very, very strong growth in Europe, especially since WebKit device arrived. So people in Europe, since the iPhone arrived basically, and then the Android phones, they really like to use their mobile to go on the web. So we'll see that with the metrics later on. Europe is using a lot of those devices to go on the web. Some markets are exploding, Africa, India. We'll see everybody needs the web. They're not going to use a lot of those high-end devices, but we will see about that in a moment. And so we see that mobile internet basically is growing much faster than desktop. And in several countries, especially in sub-Saharan Africa, mobile internet is growing several times faster. So over there, people use the phone to go on the web. They don't always have, a nice landline connection, a nice ADSL connection, so they're going to use their mobile, and especially cheap devices, the cheaper kind. So who are these people? It's not actually who are these people. It's more like, what your phone is. So I know you've been asked already, but who has the, high-end devices like an iPhone or an Android in the room? Please raise your hand. Oh, wow. Nice. So who has more like a smartphone, like a BlackBerry, like a Nokia Series 60, those nice Nokias, all right, fair amount. And so the rest, you have like more like what we call feature phones. They're not really made to go on the web, but they have the possibility. Nokia Series 40, it's going to be. Who is it? No? Those guys don't like to raise their hand? Okay. So that's our metrics from our basically search front end. The spread in connections we see. So not from Jordan in particular, but I can show you metrics for Middle East and North Africa in general. So we see 30% coming from feature phones, Nokia Series 40. So that's still a big amount. And the most connections come from smartphones, BlackBerry, and especially Nokia Series 460 are very, very popular here. In MENA. And we still see 10% of superphone, which is pretty good. And it's growing really fast. So you can expect a lot more usage in this type of phone. So what are the difference between those categories? I put 4 categories because there is the first kind of categories, those very entry-level phones who have like no internet access. Usually they still have WAP access, which is really bad. People who have these devices really usually don't like to go on the web. It's pretty limited because a lot of websites don't support WAP, so they can't almost see anything. Then the feature phones. So in terms of browsers, this is gonna make the difference between browsers. Those feature phones, they can go on the web, but they're going to have limited HTML and CSS support, basically. So if you're developing for this type of device, if you're targeting these devices, don't use fancy CSS2, fancy HTML, JavaScript is almost not working on this. Use, very basic A-links, etc. So for smartphones, they almost have a complete browser. You can use JavaScript usually. You can use HTML almost completely. Some CSS, CSS1 is at least supported usually. And on superphones, we see that they have usually a nice WebKit browser. So basically, it's almost going to be as good as a desktop Chrome or a desktop Firefox. So they can use they can support pretty much all the HTML, and then they're going to support a fair amount of HTML5 technologies. So you have to think about this when you're developing, because so depending on which region of the world, we've seen the spread for MENA, but the spread for other countries is very different. So as I said, in UK, in Europe in general, people like to use superphones, so iPhones and WebOS devices, etc. In India, it's going to be a lot of feature phones and a few smartphones. And if you develop for sub-Saharan Africa, it's going to be a lot of feature phones, mostly feature phones actually. So basically, my point is you have to know your market, basically. So depending on which region you want to launch your product, make sure you focus the right type of device. Right? It's not going to be the same whether you develop for India or whether you develop for Europe. That's actually going to be completely opposite. And here it's actually a lot of smartphones. So, think about it. So, yeah, Europe, high-end phones. South Africa, more like feature phones. So, that was the salesy, businessy part. So now let's talk a little bit more about the features of these devices, what they support, and we'll see some coding examples very soon. So basically, what are the challenges? The challenges are that you have to develop for all these mobiles, right? If you want to touch everybody, you have to develop for these three kinds of devices, and that's really hard. As I said earlier, they have limited or different CSS support. They can have limited JavaScript support as well. They cannot always support the same image format. Maybe sometimes PNG is not supported. Think about Internet Explorer 6 wasn't supporting PNG really well. So think about an old Nokia, right? Then you're going to have cache limits and screen dimensions. Especially the screen is going to be very different per device, and the input mechanism, right? So in this type of devices, you're going to have a touch screen. As you've seen, you're going to have voice control. You're going to have a lot of fancy stuff as an input, a full keyboard usually that's on the screen, or that can pop out. Whereas on this older device, you're going to have only the 9 keys and sometimes a D-pad to move around. So you really have to think about all this when you're designing your website. So the main solution that most people are actually adopting is to develop different versions of your website. A version for older phones, a version for HTML5 phones, that kind of things. So usually you're going to use user agent detection. So can I ask in the room who knows what a user agent is? That's pretty good, much better than the students yesterday. So you've progressed. I'm still going to explain for the rest of the people. The user agent is going to be a string that's going to be actually an HTTP header that's going to be added to every query by the browser. So if you're using Chrome, for example, next slide, Chrome is actually going to add this string. This is the user agent that Chrome sends inside the HTTP header. So it's just going to be a header in every connection, user-agent column, this code. The BlackBerry is going to use a different code. Every browser uses a different code. So on your server, on the server side, you can detect basically which browser. Basically, the browser is going to tell the server, oh, I'm this browser. So basically, you can filter on these browsers. And so you could do that manually, right? You could have a big list of user agents. That's going to be really complicated because there are hundreds. So there's this pretty cool project called Wolf. I wanted to let you know about it. So if you're thinking of proposing different versions of your website for each mobile, you should really use Wolf. It's really cool. It's basically a kind of database of user agent. which you can actually download and install on your server. It's a big XML file containing, basically a big database is going to map. It's going to map user agents to capabilities. So instead of just doing that yourself, you can just tell Wolf, oh, this device is connecting with this user agent. Does it support CSS spriting? Is it tablet? What kind of browser is it? Is it like an advanced HTML browser? Does it support HTML5? You can just ask Wolf. It's going to tell you. So then you don't have to think about user agents. You just get the connection and be like, oh, is it HTML5? Boom, you redirect to the HTML5 version. That kind of stuff. So we're going to see a quick coding example here. First, let me ask you, who knows in the room what this is? A QR code? You ever heard of it? Good. We had only 2 students yesterday know about it. I had to give them a mug just because they knew what a QR code is. So, so for the others, a QR code, there's about 1/3 of the room here that knows. So a QR code is going to be like a bidimensional barcode, like those barcodes. Did you flash it? One guy is already starting to use this phone. Basically, if you have an high-end device, if you have almost any phone that has a camera, you can install an app that's going to scan it. And this contains data. For example, this QR code is this URL, so you don't have to type it. You can actually just scan the code. I don't know if this works really well because the contrast is not perfect. Yesterday, I couldn't scan it, so I usually scan it on my screen like this. Up, and it works. So, well, you guys are far, but basically it detected that this is the URL. And I'm going to put some of these like everywhere in my slides where we have like mobile demos. So you can try with your phone if you want to. And if you manage to scan it from where you are, because it doesn't always work really well. So let's just have a look at the code. Oh, first let me ask, who's a Java developer in the room? I'm a Java developer. OK. You guys are good guys. What about the others? Who's a PHP developer? Still a lot. .NET? .NET? Yeah, boo. Boo for .NET. Python developer? Yeah. Oh, that's less than the students. And who's a Go developer? You know Go? The language launched by Google a few months ago? 0? Oh. I was actually going to give a mug to these people, No, too late. If you raise your hand, you have to come and answer Go stuff. So we're actually going to look at this. Man, I have lots of mugs, right? Like, try to... there will be more mugs to gain later. So here in this first part, I just initialized the Wolf library, basically. So, stuff you copy-paste. And what's very interesting is just with this simple else-if statement, that's very simple, I can detect if the browser is an advanced browser or a simple HTML browser, or if it supports only WML, basically. And let me show you. So to show you, I only have one phone, right? So I don't have those feature phones to show you. So I'm just going to use Firefox, and Firefox has a nice plugin called User Agent Switcher. There's the link here. So you can download my slides later and use it. So basically, with this plugin, I'm going to show you. With this plugin, I can fake user agents, and we'll see if this really works. So here, what I've done is I've installed the code that's behind it here. This code, I've just put it on a server, basically, on an App Engine Java server. Very simple. I put it there. I installed the Wolf SDK, and we're going to see if that works. So that's a Firefox, right? So if I get internet, yeah. So it's an advanced browser, right? Correct. That's here. So if I fake a connection from an iPhone 3, basically what the plugin is going to do is going to change the user agent, and the server is going to think an iPhone 3 is connecting. So an iPhone 3 is also an advanced browser. Good. So if I fake an Alcatel One Touch 708, which is older, it's actually a feature phone. So up, detected simple HTML browser. Very simple. I'm just hitting the same URL, the same code. And if I connect as a Nokia Series 30, which is really old, those really old Nokia, WML only. So that was, with those simple lines, you can actually redirect people to a different version of your site. Up, no. wrong key. So here I just printed some string, but of course you're gonna, use JSPs and redirect people to those JSPs, etc. So they also have, PHP client libraries. So feel free to go on their website. It's a pretty cool project. So now that was for web app and websites, right? So you guys are probably wondering, Android, that's a native app. So, what about native apps, right? When should I develop native apps? Basically, we're going to compare web apps versus native, in which case you should actually build a web app or a native app. So the question is, should you build your mobile service as a web app or a native app? The answer, no, nobody laughed. Yeah, I have really bad jokes. So there's one more bad joke, and then that's it. And last time I gave a mug to the one single person that actually laughed, Then more people laughed the second time. It was really weird. So the case of native apps. Basically, when you develop native apps, it can be either J2ME or Android or iPhones or whatever. You're going to have access to all the capabilities of the device, right? So basically, if your phone has a camera, you're going to be able to access the camera, like even in those feature phones. On Android devices, like this one, you're going to have access to a lot more features on your device, because those phones have nice internet access, they have sensors, like the camera and the flash, there's even a light detector, luminosity detector. There is, multi-touch, this multi-touch interface. There is, the accelerometer, Bluetooth, telephony. You can send SMS, receive SMS, parse them. You can do stuff with SMS, as a backup if you don't have an internet connection, for example. GPS, etc. So you basically have access to everything on your phone, which is really nice. And you don't always have that with web apps. We're going to see later. One of the cool stuff, of course, you can list your app on the market. So, that's how you make money, right? You put your app on the market, you sell it, and you make a bunch of money. So that's important as well. You can have an improved user experience, right? People prefer to use native apps, especially in iPhone and Androids. They don't like opening a web app. They like to just have their app here. There's an icon, they click. Oh, it's cool, it's the same buttons that the rest of the phone. You can add widgets. It's pretty cool. So I can show you that later. You can store data, etc. There's one slight problem, though, when you develop for native apps. So it's that you're going to have to develop for... So if you want to touch everyone, a broad range of people, you're going to have to develop your app for Android. Then the same app for iOS. It's actually different programming languages and all those other operating systems. So basically, you're going to code your app 10 times. And every time learning a new SDK, a new language in some case. So that takes a lot of time and a lot of effort. So basically, you develop for iOS and Android, you touch only 10%. Then you have to develop for mobile phone if you get, for Windows Mobile, if you want to get an extra percent. J2ME, then BlackBerry, then it takes forever. And soon it's going to be crazy. You're going to have fridge with OS, washing machine, cars, and etc. Do you want to develop for the USB desktop aquarium? That was the other bad joke I was telling you about. So what about in 5 years, right? What's going to be there? There's probably going to be other operating systems that launch. So my guess is the web will still be there, right? So if you develop for the internet today, it's still going to be working in 5 years. It's going to touch a lot of devices. When you build a web app, you're going to have instant broad reach to everybody. Almost, right? If you build a really crappy website, everybody can read it. If you build a fancy HTML5, only the internet phones. But basically, you're going to touch way more people. Build an HTML5 app today, and it's going to work on WebOS. It's going to work on Android. It's going to work on iOS. So you don't have to develop on those three SDKs, etc. It's much faster, much easier. Of course, you're going to have instant update. You don't have to wait for people to upgrade and maintain your server. So it still supports the old version that's installed on certain phones. And of course, we're going to see this, that HTML5 is now bringing some features that were only available to devices to native apps previously, it's going to bring it to the web. So we're going to see this. You've seen some demo during the keynotes. It was pretty nice, right? We're going to see how it looks like on a mobile device. So my point of view, like what I think you should do. So unless you need specific native features, so unless you need, the luminosity detector in particular, or some crazy stuff like this, you should really build an HTML5 app first, or a web app. And then when you've launched this and you touch everybody, build a native app and optimize the user experience, because people are going to still prefer the native apps. So you'll have more conversion on those platforms. But first, just launch a web app. For example, if you're a bank, right? You're not going to code an Android app because it's cool, and you're only going to touch a few % of your, of the population of your users. You probably just want to, launch a web interface to access the banking system, and for mobile, and then everybody with the mobile can access this. So more people are happy, even if they are less happy than the few Android people, like with an Android app. So now we're actually going to see, some of these new cool HTML5 features that are available for those new devices. So there's a few interesting stuff. Basically, as I said earlier, HTML5 is bringing features that used to be reserved to client apps to the web. So you've seen a few demos, right? You've seen geolocation, device orientation. Remember this cool demo? He moves his laptop, and there's a cool logo. That was Sebastian. You can use storage now with HTML5. You can use touch events, which is on your proposition of HTML5 now. So I'm gonna do a few demos on this. Sorry, fixing my mic. Here we go. There's a lot more in HTML5. That's only the more like mobile device specific stuff, right? But if you want to learn everything about HTML5, you should go to that website. So www.html5rocks.com. And it's really nice. It explains everything about HTML5, all the new features. It's very graphic. You just go through slides and you see stuff moving around. It's pretty cool. So I invite you to go there. Of course, HTML5 is only available on superphones. So as I said, see who you're targeting, right? If you want to develop for feature phones, HTML5 is great. And it's going to be supported by more and more devices, I think. So let's try some demos. So geolocation. So you've seen geolocation on a laptop, right? So I'm going to show you on a mobile really soon. And this is actually the code that's really easy to use. Basically, if you want to get the location of a person, it's only those 2 lines of code here, those 2 JavaScript lines. So who develops in JavaScript here, or at least knows what JavaScript is? So I don't have to explain. OK, everybody. That's cool. So with those 2 lines, you can actually get the position of the person. It's going to return the latitude and longitude, so you can map them on a map, for example. There is other events. This is not an event. There's also another JavaScript event. I invite you to go to the W3 specification for this API. For example, there's an event where it's going to fire a change in position every time the person moves. So as long as you have the web page opened with the event being registered, if the person moves around with the GPS on and his device, it's going to fire an event. Oh, the guy moved, the guy moved, the guy moved. OK. So you can maybe trace him on a map, for example, using HTML5. Here I'm going to demo just a the simple method. I'm going to get the position from the device using HTML5 and just show a map, a simple map, simple Google Maps from where we are. Up, that's here. I'm going to flash the QR code. You can try to do the same if it works. So internet is slow. If you're downloading movies, please stop. Here you go. So it's still loading, but basically it kind of detected where we are. It gave us a latitude and a longitude, which I've written on top. So I guess I don't read Arabic, but I guess that's where we are, where the hotel is located. So see, that was really easy, right? With a few lines of code, that's what you get. Up. I'm also going to show you touch events. So touch events, it's those new events that are that are appearing. It's not in HTML5 yet, but it's in proposition from what I've heard. So basically, instead of using on mouse down, on click, etc., you should actually use those events, which are fired by touch device with touch screens. Basically, if you want to use on mouse down, on mouse up, it's not going to work on this device. If I put my finger, it's not firing the event on mouse down. Though it's going to fire the event touch start, touch end, and touch move while I move my finger. So here, this very simple demo, what I'm doing, I have just a box, it's yellow, it says touch me. When I touch it, it says ouch, and become red. So let's try it. Very simple again, just to show you how this works. Up. Okay, is this working? Yes, so if I touch, ouch, red. And that's it. Up, when I don't stop touching, touch me. Almost worked flawlessly. Here we go. So think about using these events if you're actually developing for a mobile device. Because the regular on mouse down, on mouse up are not going to work. You can also use device orientation. You've seen the cool demo, right, from Sebastian, where he moves his laptop. It's awesome. So this is a little different event. This event here is going to fire only when the device rotates 90 degrees. So basically, if I hold my phone like this and I move it like this, it's going to fire the event once. And we can detect this. It's not going to give you the precise location. But it's nice to use this if you want to display your page differently, whether the person is holding this one like this or like this. You probably want to display buttons a little differently, or do some changes. So you have this JavaScript event, which we're going to try. But we're going to try along with this new CSS Media Queries. So you can actually use those two CSS Media Queries. It's the same thing. The CSS that's included in it is only going to be applied when the phone is in portrait for the first one, the phone is in landscape for the second one. So here, when the phone is in portrait, the background is going to be transparent, and when the phone is in landscape, it's going to be red, like this. So let me just show you. Up, barcode scanner. Here. So up. So it's like this. Oh, I'm touching the thing. Oh, stop it. So here it says portrait, transparent. If I turn up, it says landscape. Can you read it? I promise you it says landscape on my phone. Yeah, there's a problem with the contrast. I can probably zoom in. No, yeah, here. Landscape, you see it, right? So I don't know, black on red, it doesn't show really well with this. So that works, and it becomes white again when I turn it. So you can display your website differently, and people are going to appreciate it. If they see your device supports these cool features, your website supports these cool features, they're going to be like, oh, cool, I'm going to come back. And so this is the demo given by Sebastian, right? You remember this, right? Everybody was like, wow, this is so awesome. Oh, thank you. Actually, in Egypt, nobody told me, and I kept going. And, and then I looked really stupid. So you were like, oh, wow, this is so awesome. The thing is moving. So this works on Chrome, on this MacBook Pro, because it has an accelerometer in it. And it doesn't work on Android. So why? Because the browser is not supporting it yet. And so if you have an iPhone 4.2, it's going to work. OK. So we lose this one, but hopefully it's going to be supported really soon on Android as well. So you can actually use this data. This could work on my Android. If you have an iPhone, this works right now. If you have an iPhone 4 with the 4.2 OS installed, that's very, very new. So hopefully we update and we catch up on this. So shame on us. This is the event he was actually using. So very simple to use. Just my microphone is falling again. This is the event you use. It's very simple. You just add one event, and you get those three values. So alpha is going to be the compass. It's going to indicate north and south. So it's going to vary from 0 to 360. It's this angle, basically. Beta is going to vary from minus 180 to 180. I think it's this. And gamma is going to vary from minus 90 to 90 points. And it's the other angle. So just to show you here, so you can notice that the MacBook Pro doesn't have a compass. It only has an accelerometer. This is why you only see two values. The first being the compass, the north. So it's moving. So this is how you use it. And as I said, you can start using it right now. It's going to work on iPhones, not on Android, unfortunately, but very soon. So how much time do we have? You said 15? OK, so we have, 15? Yeah, we have a lot of time. Cool, so I can show you some Android stuff. And we're going to develop some Android apps together. So who has already developed an Android app here? A few, so it might be boring for you. Sorry, but for the rest, you might learn some new stuff, but might be boring. So I'm actually gonna show you, later on I'm gonna talk about this a little bit, but I'm gonna show you how to develop, first a hello world, how to use the SDK, start using some sensors. It's gonna be nice. You're gonna see. So when I develop an Android app, good choice, of course. So let me tell you. All of the nice features you have on Android devices, if you develop a native app, basically you're going to have some of this. I talked about it before. There's all this new stuff as well. The sensors. So what's really interesting when you build Android native apps, you can use your sensors, right? So guys, stop building Twitter apps. There's already like 30 on the market. Try to use the light sensor, the proximity. Do some cool stuff with this. Because those communication things, it's all here already. You can send SMS and get it back. You can use it instead of data, for example. In some countries in sub-Saharan Africa, they have really bad data plans, right? So it's going to work mostly with SMS over there. You want to use SMS almost as data. You send an SMS, you can detect when you get an SMS which has a certain pattern. Geolocation, and I'm going to show you OpenGL. So what's really cool on Android devices is there is a 3D acceleration chip, basically. Just like on your fancy computers, you can actually play 3D games, and it works really flawlessly. So I'm just going to show you a quick demo. And it's going to load in 1 second. And this works since the first Android device. On my G1, this was working actually great. Now I have the Nexus one. It's more fancy, I know, but it was working very nicely. You see, no, you see, OK. So basically, boom, you see an explosion. There's buildings. Wow, a tank's arrive, and it's so awesome. It's going to fire a weapon and a... No, that's really cool, right? And let me show you something. I can stop the video at any moment and turn around. So I'm proving you here it's real 3D. It's not like a movie. It's 3D. I'm moving around the thing with the trackball. So this is real 3D. This is OpenGL. So I know nothing about OpenGL. But if you're like good at OpenGL, please develop games like this. So I promise you, if you develop a game that looks like this, I buy it. I buy it $4. OK? Come on. It's good enough. All right. That was OpenGL. You've all seen the cool demo too, where they speak on the phone. It's supposed to work. You say, oh, hello, my name is Nicolas. And it says, oh, bonjour, mon nom est Nicolas, en français. So I'm French. That's easy for me. So what's important is that you can use this in your device. You can use this in your own app. That's what's important, right? OK, it works on Google Apps. Yes? Oh, OK, OK. Thank you, thank you. See, every time. Yes. There was nothing special. Yeah, it's going to work on your own device, this text-to-speech technology. On your own app, you can use it. Basically, it's like another app on the phone. It's like an APK. You can actually call the intent that uses it. So applications on Android can communicate with each other. You can use features of other applications. For example, you know the Google Calendar app. Everybody knows what Google Calendar is. Yeah, okay. So you know it's an agenda calendar. You can actually call, for example, if you want to create an event from any other app, you can launch Google Calendar with the event creation page already loaded with some data. So because they've opened it, they say, oh, people can use my app to create events. It's the same with this speech to text, thank you, thing. You can use it in your app. Let me just show you my crappy app I did. I did a very crappy app called Recorder. Records my stuff. Stuff I say, oh, let me delete. So that's really ugly, right? That I did it. That's not like a super cool Google app. That's mine. And I just, on the button here, you should just press, welcome to Jordan. I mean, you all recognize the intent, the little box that popped up. And it's actually going to, you know, use the speech to text. I just fired the intent. And if I stop downloading movies, welcome to Jordan. Here we go. It worked. So you can use that in your app. Please use it. You know, it's really easy. You put a little button next to every box with like this cool icon. And people can, instead of typing, they can just speak. Oh, yes. Thank you. So here is actually the code. How long do I have? Until 15? So I have some time. I can actually. How much time do I have? 5 minutes left? Really? Okay, 5 minutes. So I'm going to hurry up then. So then I'm not going to show you this. This is the code. Okay, I'm going to go through it a little bit. I'm going to fight with Sebastian to keep this a little longer then. So here, very simple. I get the button. I add a voice recognition. I add an event, a listener to this button, just to launch this method. Very easy, right? So let me tell you, this is the exact code that I put in my app. I changed nothing. So how activity communicate with each other, you're actually going to use an intent. It's an object called an intent. So you're going to create an intent. You're going to use this recognizer intent. That's actually a class of this app, you know, this speech-to-text app. And they give, yeah, how long? 5 minutes for real? Okay, I'm going to go super fast then. Okay, here you go. You put the intent. You have to give it a code, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's just that it detects because basically it's going to launch another app, and when the other app comes back to your app, it's going to return a result, and it's just going to give a code, right? I was app number 1, 2, 3, 4, which you detect here. That's the onActivity result, which is a method you override. And you detect 1, 2, 3, 4, you use the same code, up, you get the value, boom, you put it in your text box. That was fast. Now, yeah, that's basically you have to use your imagination when you code Android. There's all those new sensors, all those cool stuff. So for example, one of the ideas I had is to build a virtual rooster. You know, that's a rooster, you all know what that is, I hope. It sings in the morning, it's really annoying, right? When the sun comes up, it's like, cocorico. That's the French version. And so you could actually code one, a virtual one, right? Using the light sensor, time of the day, and music. You could actually build an app. You put it on your, you know, outside on your window, and when it detects the light comes up during, you know, after the night, it sings, boo. So if you're in town and you missed having a rooster around, you can build one. Now I need one person to come on stage. I want, yeah, this person, yeah, here. Thank you. And you'll get a mug when you come back to your. I have to give some mugs, guys. Nobody could go, nothing. Up. Do you have a phone with you? Okay. You have a phone? No, it's okay. So can you hold your fist like this? You have a phone in your hand. Let's imagine he has a phone in his hand. Here's a phone. He can get a phone in his hand. Oh, he doesn't need a microphone. Thank you. Yes. So imagine this app. That's called. I'm calling it Fist Bump Business Card Exchange. What it's going to do is when we fist bump together, that's a fist bump. Boom. Okay. Yo, man. That's what they do in the US, you know, they fist bump all the time. What it would do, he would get my business card, and I would get his. So how would that work? That's not magic. I thought it was magic at the beginning, and then no, just an app. So it's actually going to use the accelerometer to detect the fist bump motion, right? You could detect this, boom, up if you're smart, and smart people like you. It's going to use geolocation. Oh, those guys are at the same place. They are fist bumping. And it's going to use time of the day. I didn't put it, but so if you send those two data separately to a server, it's going to say, oh, those guys are fist bumping, and at the same place at the same moment. So they're fist bumping together. We're fist bumping together, man. Right? All right. Thanks for your time. Can you give a mug to this person, please? You know, so you have to use your imagination. Yeah, you'll get the mug over there. My first mug of the day. So now I wanted to show you how to develop with Android really quickly. So let me open Eclipse. Who knows what Eclipse is? This is Eclipse. Yeah, most people. The other one, just learn, okay? No, you should learn. It's a Java developing environment. It's a really, really good one. And Google likes it because it develops plugins for it all the time. So you know, there's this App Engine plugin here, and there's also an Android plugin. So you actually have to, you know, if you want to follow what I did at home, you'll have to have Eclipse, have the plugin installed, the Android plugin. You also have to have the Android SDK installed. Those three things, and you can actually do what I'm doing. You'll see it's really easy to build Android apps if you have these things installed. So let me start with the Hello World. Getting a Hello World is really easy because you can actually just create a new project. If you have the plugin, you can select Android project. You'll see this. I hope it's not too small. Then when you build your project, you're actually, you have to give it a bunch of information. So we're going to develop a virtual rooster, actually. So our virtual rooster is not going to sing. It's just going to pop up an image because it's simpler for this demo. Virtual rooster, Android 2.2, virtual rooster, package name. So I work at Google, so rooster. Activity. So what is an activity, guys? It's basically, now I'm going to explain really quickly because I'm going to be ahead of time. Sorry. So activity, basically, if you're a beginner, you can be like, oh, a screen of your app. A screen is an activity. If you have two screens, you know, you have something when you select stuff and you move to another screen, you build two activities and they communicate with each other. So that's the easier way to think about it when you're a beginner at Android. Activity equal a screen. So here I have my my app. It's going to compile and remove that error. Yeah. So let me show you, you know, how Android app is organized here. First you have the src folder, which contains the Java classes. It actually built an activity. And so there you're going to put the logic, right? Because so on Android, what's really important, they want you to actually separate the logic, so in the Java classes, to the UI. And the UI, you know, the UI components basically, are actually going to be created in XML files in this folder called layout. So here we can have a look at what was auto-generated. Basically, there's a linear layout vertically, so it's going to stack items vertically like this, and a text view, which is just going to be a hello world. It's going to say, you know, hello world, roost. So if you add buttons, you just add them as an XML file like this. And from your code, you can actually get elements using a specific method, because each element is can also have a Java class, right? It's not purely XML, of course. But they really want you to actually separate the layout and the UI here in those files to your logic. So when you add, you know, colors and when you change stuff like this, you just modify this file. Other folders here, drawable is going to contain images. You can have images, different images per, how long? 2 minutes? OK. We're going to do this super fast, guys. And there is an Android manifest, which is going to contain where you're actually going to put the if you need like access to certain APIs or to certain sensors, you have to put a line here saying, oh, I'd like access to Google Contacts data or the sensor, the light sensor, etc. So basically, you can test this app really quickly. The emulator, the SDK come with an emulator. So you don't have to own an Android device to start programming. You can use this emulator like this. When I click run, it's actually going to start the app, which should just be in Hello World. Up, you all see this? So Hello World Roost, very easy. What's better, if you own an Android device like this one, you can actually plug it with USB, and you're going to be able to develop, using the SDK. It's going to push on the phone directly, and you can test this. So I have 1 minute left, and we're going to build this virtual rooster together, a really easy version. So let me go back to my slides, which I closed, unfortunately. So I'm gonna. This is presently, by the way, to build presentation. It's really cool. Here is the code for my rooster, right? So what I'm going to do first, I'm going to add an image. The image is going to be the image of a rooster, which I'm just going to show when the sun comes up. I'm going to add that to my layout here. Up. That's the code to an image. It's going to point to an image which is not here yet. You have to actually add a real image file. So what I can do is I can create, where is the, new folder. I'm going to add a drawable folder, which is going to be for every single type of device. I'm actually going to add the image, which I prepared. A PNG image of a rooster right here. And now this compiles. What else I'm going to do? I'm going to add an ID here. With IDs, you can actually access your elements from your code. What I want to do is I want to print the value of the sensor, of the light sensor, to this text box here. So I need an ID to access it. What else? In the manifest, I need to say I want to use the light sensor. Up, here we go. So I just add this line saying, oh, light sensor is going to be used. And this is the code to actually use the light sensor itself, get the value from the light sensor. From any sensor, actually, it's going to be pretty much the same code, which I'm going to add here. I have to import. Boom. What I'm going to do is, so you get a sensor manager here. You actually register an event on this sensor manager saying, I want the light sensor value. And I just want to update it at a normal delay time, so you can save battery. You can have fastest delay. So, and here on the event listener, which is on the event method here on sensor change, which is going to be fired when the value changes, I'm going to get the value of this sensor, and I'm going to call this method that's just going to show my my image, which this method does. A very simple method. Let me just explain it. So it's gonna get the image using findViewById. So the image XML bit, in this other file, had an ID, and you can just get the image object that corresponds to this ID. And here, based on a threshold, so the sensor gives me lumens back. It actually measures the lumens from a sensor that's located here on the phone. So let's say when there is less than 500 lumens, it's going to be night. When there is more, it's going to be day, and it's going to show this rooster image. So now I'm just going to run it as an Android. Up here. I click on this run as an Android. It should actually. It's taking a little bit. No. Run as Android app. So it's going to detect that my phone is plugged in. No, it doesn't. It's actually firing the emulator. I'm so sorry. So I just need to. It's going to come in just a second. manual run. Huh. This is not detecting my phone. Sorry about this again. This is not my USB cable, so I hope nothing is wrong with it. So I wanted to show you, but unfortunately, I'm going to have to fake it. I wanted to show you push it. So I have it installed already, of course. Rooster. So here I put my finger on the luminosity sensor. And the sensor detects only 225 lumens. And if I remove my finger from the sensor, boom, detected that the light is now the light level is at 1,280 lumens, and it showed me the rooster. So if I put my finger, boom, boom. So the finger just, it's like the night, right? Here, that's it. So actually, that's it. Thanks a lot. That was my demo. Thank you very much. And yeah, just one last thing. If you want to follow me on Twitter, it's Nifco. I'm going to ping the link to these slides and IVCO. Very easy. And you can also give me feedback if you think some things need to be changed or what is good. And that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.